Okay. I actually learned something going over this material as well, which was kind of interesting. But so embedded operating systems, we use GPSs. We talked about that in the last class. We use ATMs. We use lots of stuff with embedded. Pretty much everything has embedded operating systems in it now. Okay. So if you haven't seen one, well, you're going to learn about a bunch of them here. Real-time operating systems. I used to work in the software flight called ARMS, ARMTS, Aircraft Radar Maintenance Training Set at Tinker when I was in the military, and we actually programmed in a language called IRMX, which is a real-time operating system language. Real-time originally was used a whole bunch for like banking. Same place you would use like a token ring network because you needed to guarantee availability. But more things use it now. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a minute. But, they mentioned thermostats and spacecraft, stuff like that. Okay, firewalls, all those have OSs built in them. Cisco routers. I mean, in forensics, you did a project where you connected into a Cisco router. That was an embedded OS. Switches, routers, applications, just all kinds of stuff. You just don't realize some of them that are out there. Okay. I actually use, can I show it to you? Let me see if I can show this to you. Let's see. Let's see if I can get in here, if I know my login. It's not match. How about this one? Please let me in, please. Okay, I'm in. Now, what do you think blue spray is, anybody? It's a sprinkler system. Okay. So this is an actual web-enabled sprinkler system.
At your house?
This is my house. It actually uses an image of Google Maps, and like zone 9 is actually starts on this corner, it goes all the way up around this side. But I can click on this and I can actually turn a sprinkler on. So right now, zone 9 is watering my backyard.
Where's your dogs?
They're in the house.
Oh.
But the dogs love the sprinklers.
Can you track your dogs with that?
No.
Why are you guys laughing?
No, that's one thing I will be getting soon is the little GPS chips because dogs jump. But I mean, you can really zone 9 has 4 sprinkler heads, but I mean it's an amazing system. So this is embedded in the sprinkler system.
Oh, does that show the power down at the bottom?
That's the time.
No, I mean down. There. Oh no, that's just a logo. I thought you could adjust the arc on it.
No, I can change settings as in time. Like I can go in here and I can, how long to do each zone for. It's like zone 17. For some reason, that darn grass is always brown, even though I get a 65 minutes compared to the other zones.
And is it hardwired or?
But yeah, they're all hardwired into the controller.
Okay, so you have to bury the wires.
Yes, they're all buried. But I can go in seasons and program different things, on different schedules when they start and all that stuff. So, I mean, this is just an example of an embedded, operating system.
Can you turn on your thermostats and all that too?
Oh, yeah, I can do all that, yeah. My password is 30 characters long. I don't want to have to look at it. I can turn, I can do all that remotely as well. But it's getting to the point, has anyone got smart light bulbs?
Yeah.
Okay. I have about 50 of them now.
They're expensive.
They are expensive, but they're coming down in price. But I have this issue. I always admit it that I can't stand lights being left on in my house if no one's there. So rather than spending 18 cents on a light bulb, I spend $20 on the light bulb. But I'm saving electricity. But I can do all kinds of stuff like that. I got cameras and I can watch all that stuff. But they all come with firmware. Okay. They talk about reverse engineering. We actually do have a reverse engineering class this fall. But OSs have all this in it. That sprinkler, I just recently updated the firmware in it, and I don't like it as much. It doesn't, the screen refresh doesn't, how when I clicked on that sprinkler, turn it on, I had to refresh the screen for it to pop up and show that circle. In the past, I didn't have to do that. It automatically did that. So
it's JavaScript?
They did something in the interface because it does it in my house too.
Oh.
something in the interface, because you're actually connecting into the sprinkler. It's a web page built into the sprinkler. So, but now there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. Okay, they talk about, you know, insert software to a firewall's behavior. You can control how things do. Tesla Model 3. One of my FC officers has a Tesla Model 3, and we were looking at it last week. It was kind of cool, and it supports, I think he said, level 2 driving. You know, auto driving, where you're basically cruise control, where you don't even have to steer, it does it for you. But he said soon they'll be coming out with a firmware update for it will support level 4, where we'll be able to recognize stop signs. It's like, I mean, I was thinking about that. I'm like,
My car
okay.
does that.
What?
My car does that. If you're on the highway, it'll get off on the exits, and the only thing you have to really do is make sure that you stop. And it'll even warn you.
But will it do stop signs?
It won't do stop signs, and it won't do stop lights.
That's the only thing that, you know, I mean, it's crazy the amount of stuff they're doing. You know, it's crazy. They're saying by, you know, in a few years, 85% of the stuff we do now will be automated through some sort of AI or some sort of system. So it's just crazy. Yeah. So they're talking about recycling common code or reusing technologies. You know, we talked about software practices, I think, last week. Okay. But all these embedded operating systems, okay, my sprinkler, for instance, say it has a vulnerability in it, and you could exploit that vulnerability. What could that give you access to? Well, the sprinkler is actually inside my home network. So you could basically, if you could get into the sprinkler system and exploit it, you could then pivot into my network, and who knows what you can do at that point. So I showed you remotely into the sprinkler system itself. So if there's a vulnerability there and you can pivot out into my network, now you just bypass my firewall. See how that works? So it can be scary. People could put, you know, viruses, Trojans, all kinds of stuff on there.
But since it's a web application, doesn't it just use port 80?
It does, but it also uses 8080 and, you know, 443. But still, I mean, what if there's an SSL vulnerability? And, you know, who knows what? I haven't seen a vulnerability on it yet, but, you know, talk more about that here in a couple of minutes. But, you know, Windows and Linux both have vulnerabilities. Windows CE, I haven't looked lately, but I know First National Bank on Tinker, for the longest time, was running Windows CE. It's basically a very, you know, trimmed down version of Windows if they're running banking stuff that, you know, don't want all the other frills, you know. Okay. They talk about sharing code and stuff like that. Windows 10 IoT. I was not aware of this. This is, you know, I was looking into this stuff, so I looked it up. Let me show you. Basically what it is, it's a version of Windows made to run like on Raspberry Pis, made to run on all kinds of stuff. So, you know, I mean, it makes sense. Raspberry Pis and everybody's been running Linux, a version of Linux. Why not Microsoft get in the game? But they're even going to make an IoT for server. It's like, really? So I don't know how they're going to make it small enough, but
It's on. I think it's on the website where we download stuff from. I could have sworn I saw it on there when I downloaded Server 2019.
oh, the IoT version? Okay, I haven't played with that one yet. You know, I just need to play with it one day, but does not have a desktop interface. But do we really need the desktop interface? If you're talking server admin, do you really need the GUI?
PowerShell.
Yeah, exactly. PowerShell does everything. All right. So it's designed for devices like the Raspberry Pi to make things easier for developers. Okay. I don't know much about all of these, but there's VxWorks. There's just lots of different ones out there. Here's a picture of that one. I've never played with this one. QNX. There's also Green Hill. Now, they talk about the F-35 strike fighter. Now, a funny story. F-35, the fighter plane, you know, the Air Force's fighter plane. It was Lockheed Martin actually got broken into, and all the plans were stolen. And they've actually proven that they can take over the software in the F-35 remotely now. So, I mean, hopefully they've changed the plane since then. But it was in one of the books I read, and it was like, wow, it's crazy. But there's a lot of stuff out there. They talk about, you know, commercial real-time systems out here with Cisco's routers. And, you know, I'm assuming someone's been through the airport before. in the airport, you see all those devices, you know, the firewalls, the filters, the ones that do everything. They're always advertised there. I don't know why they put them there. But it makes you wonder, you know, like Lockheed Martin, for instance, they capture all traffic and store it for an entire year. Every bit of traffic coming in and inside their network is captured for an entire year. That way, if they ever have to go back and find out what happened, that's going to be an awful powerful device to actually capture everything and analyze it. It's crazy what some of this stuff does. So here they mentioned here at the bottom, Logitech universal remotes. Does anyone have one of those? I have one. I love it. I can remotely turn my TV on and off. I can change channels because my mom-in-law can't do it, so I do it remotely. But why? Why is that a real-time operating system? Why would that need to be one? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's not medical, it's not really financial, it's controlling a television. Yeah, it's like, why? I know they just mentioned, I saw that, I'm like.
Maybe it's because they piggyback on their mouse firmware.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Keyboard,
makes sense. Maybe. Okay, good. William just mentioned maybe because they piggybacked on their mouse or their keyboard software, so that needs to be real time. Could be. Okay. I was like, that's not even a critical device. But I don't know. Okay. So there's just lots of ones they talk about. They talk about multiple processor systems. I want to go over to, and I'm not going to cover all this in great detail at all, but we're going to do a demo here in a second. There's embedded Linux. There's RT Linux. DDWRT. Anyone even running DDWRT? We have it running in the Cyber Lounge on one of the routers. It's actually the router in my office. It's basically the firmware you add onto your Linksys routers. If you've never done that, it's awesome. As long as you have the right model router, you can overwrite your firmware with this. It gives you all kinds of new functionality. Okay. Let's see. Impact of attacks. I was talking to James Finch, and no one probably knows who he is. He used to be the special agent in charge of the FBI here in Oklahoma. He used to work up at D.C. with the director of the FBI and all that. He actually came into classes here, and we were talking about cameras one day, and I mentioned FOSCAM. Okay, I used to have FOSCAM cameras. I don't any longer, but I did. And he's like, "You actually have some of those?" I'm like, "Not anymore." He's like, "They have found so many vulnerabilities, and obviously the FBI would know about it." Says there's so many flaws where people were remotely getting into these cameras, then pivoting in the networks from there. So I'm like, that's some scary stuff. So don't ever buy them. Okay. All right. Let's see what else. Y2K. Y'all remember the Y2K software flaw? Yeah. Did it really cause any big issues? Were any of you alive then?
But wouldn't that be scary? Was it scary for you?
I remember when that day happened.
All you had to do was set your system before that.
Well, the problem was, like when I was in the military, we had a lot of proprietary software that had two digits. And what's going to happen? We literally had to go through everything. We had little Y2K compliant stickers, and this was not compliant. It was such a deal. Then really, nothing happened. Then there was a very few systems that had an issue at all. But we things the That's how we fixed it.
If you wanted to know what was going to happen, you could set the
you could have said ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it would tell you what was going to happen.
I mean, there was movies about it and everything else. It's like crazy. Okay.
Well, unless you're the Social Security department, and they had to calculate Social Security because is at 2001, are they a year old? Or are they 100 years old? Or
yeah, that could be a big difference. Yeah. I would rather get paid as a 100-year-old than a 1-year-old. Yeah, good point there. But, it's just crazy the stuff we don't think of, okay? And, I was doing something just the other day, and someone asked for the year in 2 digits again. Like, why? I mean, did we not learn that? I don't know. Okay. Let's see if there's something else I want to show you on here. It says, any device added to an, I want to mention, I was reviewing one of the textbooks, and I was looking up Internet of Things, see if it was in there. This was actually our Principles of Cybersecurity book, and it had it in like one paragraph. That was it. I'm like, what? I mean, obviously IoT is a big deal. Do y'all agree with that? Hopefully you know what that is. And I asked the publisher, I'm like, why only one? Oh, that's a fad. It won't be around long. Like, what? Because, I sent it to the publisher. They sent it to the author. And the author's like, oh, that's just a fad. I'm like, wow. Makes me want to rethink books. Okay. But there's a lot of systems that use this. And I'm not going to go through all this stuff they talk about here. But I do want to show you an example. They're talking about embedded OSs, how they're very hard to update sometimes. They lack interfaces. A lot of times they're proprietary. One of my prior students used to work on ATMs, and for the longest time they were running Windows 3.1, then someone went proprietary, and it's just, tough to manage all that different information. They talk about patching, how some are easy to do and some are not, and how to fixing vulnerabilities. Again, look at, I know some of you probably have the virus phone, the Android phone. Everybody? You notice how, like Samsung, for instance, you can't get many new updates for it? Like, what's the latest Android? Potato chip or something?
Oreo.
What is it?
Oreo.
Oreo.
There was a new one since Oreo.
Okay.
Actually, it's Pi.
It's Pi now. Pi. Okay. So a lot of devices can't be updated to the latest one.
Somebody likes some sweet.
Well, the reason they do that is,
all the Android versions are named after.
what does Samsung want to do? They want you to buy a new phone. So why keep updating it so they don't? So, when I met Virginia, it was funny because she had an Android device. And she just loved it. She bought one, her sister bought one, her mother bought one. A few months later, the new version, whatever, came out, and she couldn't get it. It wasn't supported on her device. She got so pissed. Now, Apple does that as well, but it's normally like, I don't think the iPhone 4 can be updated anymore. But, it's just crazy. So it's hard to update some of those. Okay. Network devices. Most things are networked nowadays. Pretty much all of them are, especially IoT. They're all network devices. There's very few that would not be. Okay. We talk about general purpose computers, high-speed networking, all this stuff involved with those. Okay. Vulnerabilities, they talk about specialty URLs. When I ran my ISP, I'll see if the software is still around. We use software called VPASP. Wow, it's still there. It's the world's premier shopping cart software. Okay. I actually ran this. I ran it for many years, actually. But it turned out there was a SQL injection flaw in it on the search page. So if you had a system running this and you actually went to search for a product, they didn't check the input correctly, and it just caused, about 400 credit cards stolen. It was a pain in the butt. So, it's just people play with this stuff and just try to figure it out. A lot of times, when I went to University of Tulsa, we had to make a web browser in Java, which is not that hard to do, but we had to make it so it would not take Unicode characters in the URL. A lot of times that'll cause issues. So there's just all kinds of stuff that you don't even think of when writing software. Okay, they talk about multifunction devices. Okay, how many of you have a multifunction printer, scanner, fax, all that? Okay, I hated those for the longest time. It was like you had a good printer, you had a good scanner, but no one really made one that worked well together. I finally found the Dell one that actually has been working great for, 18 years now, I think, maybe longer. I don't use it all that much, but they have embedded OSs in them. And here's what they can look like. Here's one from a Dell printer. Now, I'm going to do a demo for you. I'm going to continue streaming it, but I'm not going to record this. Okay, this is not on. Someone needs to remind me to unpause this when we're done. Okay. Okay. I forgot to turn it back on.
I saw you mouse over.
I thought I did. I thought I clicked it.
I know you. No.
Yeah, I thought I did it. I thought I clicked it. Oh well. Okay, it's back on now. My bad. It's back on now. But now the point was, go home and check some of your devices out. Try to log in. And if you can do it with no password, that's not a good thing. Okay, supervisory control and data acquisitions. I went through a class with CSAC up at University of Tulsa. And Greg, do you guys still teach any SCADA there at all? I know at one point you did.
They teach a little bit.
Not a lot. Yeah.
Not a lot. Robert Hamilton went to Northrop Grumman. We had actually done using Security Onion. We were working on some stuff with the protocols for scaling DN3, and it escapes me what the other one is.
So yeah, we actually had some classes on it, and I know up in what's the career tech system southwest of Tulsa?
Central Tech, Clint Webb.
Yeah, I know they at one point did something. Well, I don't know if they still do, but SCADA systems is like controls the power grid, controls the Die Hard. What's the latest one? Die Hard 5 or 6.
Powered with a vengeance.
Was that the last
Live
one?
free to die hard.
Live Free to Die Hard, where they basically stole all the money. And that's basically a SCADA system. It's the stuff that controls other systems. Dr. Shinoy showed a video of it when he was here last. I also was reading a book and they talked about it. They talk about how Congress did not believe that our infrastructure was vulnerable. Actually, I bet we can find a video of it. Let's see.
Was it Prometheus or something where they were shaking the generator?
Yes, exactly.
I can't remember the name of it. Prometheus or something like that.
I don't know what it is. It was something where Congress said it's not vulnerable, and they actually did it live and remotely made a generator go crazy. They took out wind farms. I forget what it's called. Generator. I can't remember where the heck it was at. No, that's not it. Is this the one? Maybe this. No, that's not it. That's not it. So you're saying put Reddit after it? It explains how to legitimate corrupt. That's not it.
Go to all.
Do what?
All.
Oh. I know there's one out there. You can find it, and they actually show, they filmed it. It's literally of a generator taken offline. So it's just scary stuff.
Talking about it, Idaho National, they caused that industrial generator
Yes.
to come off. It's
Right.
It started shaking. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking
Yeah, I
about.
just don't remember how to find the video,
What
but
book was that in? That was in, hold on.
yeah,
I'll
but
tell you exactly.
if you find it, let me know. But it's amazing what we can do, and if we think about it, we all have smart meters at our house, correct? What happens if someone breaks into those? When I did a tour of University of Tulsa's Secret Service lab, they actually had smart. You found the video?
Yeah, well, I didn't find the video.
Aurora. Aurora is the search term you need.
What is it?
Hold on.
Aurora.
No.
No, Aurora. A-U-R.
Aurora?
Yeah, the Aurora project.
There you go. And then
Aurora. Yeah.
and put generator in there.
Oh, is this it? Yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah.
Come on. So they're doing this remotely.
You know how they did? I'll tell you how they did.
Yeah. Oh, because you have to jump. Smoking.
I think it's the same concept as the Iranian centrifuges.
It could
Get
be.
them off balance.
No, they use the power grid to do it. The power grid pushes back.
Right.
Whenever a generator goes against the power grid pushes back, so they have to be synced. And what they did was they altered the sync between the power grid,
And the generator?
the power pushing against the generator,
Right.
and the generator pushing against the power grid. And when the power grid came back and pushed against the generator, that's what caused it to go
He said it was the synchronization between the power grid and the generator, how they push against each other, and they made one push and the other. Wow, that's crazy stuff. But I mean, that's all done remotely. So and everything's controlled that way nowadays. Our smart meters at our house and everything. And I think there's I don't remember the exact statistics. They said something like 1,600 smart meters are produced a month. So what if they took down all of Los Angeles? How long would it take to get it back online?
They demonstrated this because the meters talk to each other.
Yes, they do.
So you just put it into one, and
it'll replicate.
propagate out to the rest of them.
Tulsa was actually doing I don't know if they ever finished it, but they actually had a project where they were able to remotely get into the meters. They were not able to put in an exploit yet. I mean, that was a couple of years ago. They probably have something by now.
They can now.
Yeah, I mean, if you got enough time, you can do anything.
They demonstrated it in Seattle.
Nice. It's just crazy stuff. Said, Ukrainian power plant left about 75 people in the dark. There's just lots of examples of these kinds of systems. And I know Dr. Schnoy does a whole bunch about that. Okay. Says, smartphones is tapping, using, I know required a lot of time. Well, what's this one say? Okay. There's just lots of vulnerabilities in our smartphone. Yeah, we know that. And what was the latest one? Was it a FaceTime exploit on the iPhone? Was some kid found?
Yeah.
It was some weird thing.
Even more basic is SS7, which is the protocol that the phones use to communicate with carriers. And there's some videos where they can tap in. Vice did one where they tapped a congressman's phone, recorded all his phone calls, gathered all the people he was in contact with and their numbers.
Nice. It's crazy stuff. But the point is, we're always updating stuff to make it better and fix stuff, but how many more vulnerabilities do you leave in at that point? Okay. They're listening on your phone. They can clone your phone. And what's that show? Ran for 4 seasons. Had the guy in it, the P.
You talking about
Mr. Robot?
No. Build a computer system that was taking over everything.
Oh, crud.
Begin with a person of interest.
Yes, person of interest.
Person of interest. They show, they were cloning everybody's phones and doing anything with it. Yeah, it's a little far-fetched, but we can do stuff similar to that. So, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And, they mentioned, applications. I was reading an article on that, and they were talking about the flashlight app on an Android phone. Why does the flashlight need access to your contacts? It doesn't. I give access to nothing until I'm going to use it for that intended use. Like, I'm using a device that needs my location. Okay, I turn it on, I use it, then I go back and turn it off. But, don't leave them on all the time. Rootkits, lots of them out there. Most of them are protected by antivirus, but there's always new ones out there. The coolest one, which I cannot seem to remember or even find an example of, I was in a class and we did it. You could go in and tell Windows, hide the letter S. And every interface in the entire system no longer has the letter S. It's just crazy what you can do with rootkits. You could tell it to hide itself so, no antivirus can find it. No, it's just really crazy what they can do. They infect stuff, okay? They talked about trusted platform model. That's been out for a very long time. But, I don't know how good these things are. I mean, if you have something from a while ago, is it still non-vulnerable? I don't know. I just don't know. They're hard to detect. They're hard to remove sometimes. Like the Stuxnet virus. One of these days we need to watch that movie. We own it. The Stuxnet virus actually they infected a contractor's laptop via a flash drive. And it propagated to machines, which was fine, but it did nothing until it found a specific type of Siemens controller that was used on the Iranian nuclear reactors. At that point, it went in and infected that system. But the reason it was detected, this one laptop that was infected, again, it didn't do anything because it was just a regular laptop, but this laptop had issues. It was rebooting or something. They brought it to a store, and turns out they found the virus on it. I don't know if the virus was causing the rebooting, but they found it at that point. I mean, it's amazing what they do, okay, how they find these kind of things. But okay, let's see, what else is there? I think we're just about the end. So identify all embedded systems in an organization. I was doing something the other day, and there's an Apple TV somewhere in this building, so I can see it, but I don't know where it is. The original plan was to put Apple TVs on our projectors, so we could sit here with my phone and project to the projector, and we'll see a problem with that. Well, then I could see I'm in the middle of your presentation, there's some students in the back. Oh, watch this. Next thing you know, you got something else on there. So we haven't gone that way yet. Okay. It says prioritize systems or functions that depend on these IoT devices. Now, I was talking to Brad yesterday. We're getting ready to buy a camera for the new cyber lab. And I guess there's a new standard coming out for IP cameras. Whatever it is. He told me what it was. I don't remember what it was. But he was like, yeah, they want us to upgrade all of our access points on the entire campus just to work with this new, and it's like, $52,000. It's like, oh crap. So he's like, nope, we're going to not go with the new standard for a while. Okay. Use encryption, follow manufacturer's recommendations, but our manufacturer's recommendation is always good. Not always. They don't know either. Okay. Use cryptological methods for booting and install patches and updates, and restrict network access. Like, should I have been able to get into that printer? I really don't need it. They probably should have turned off the web interface and just done it from, I realize the web interface makes it easier, or at least put a password on the darn thing. So, all right. That's pretty much it for this chapter. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of cool when I found that printer. So, all right. Any questions over this chapter? I don't know what the lab is for this one. Is there a lab for this one? I don't remember. But